Hello, this is the review from the final of the British Go Championship 2022, so let's start. So far everything looks fine, it's like playable opening, everything is normal. In this position, I think White played an unusual move. I don't think that this move is so nice because after these exchanges White gets an empty triangle. Here we get an empty triangle. So normally, in my opinion, this situation is almost always good for Black. White just gets a bad shape and some strange kind of a wall which cannot be really even used well. Yeah, I think it's just good for Black. So normally, instead of playing here this wedge, White plays in the corner. After Black comes back, in this position White has usually three popular answers. One is the simplest one is to play like this tiger's mouth. Why it's not so bad? Like it leaves some weakness right here in White's shape, but on the other hand it's anyway not so interesting for Black to cut. So if Black plays like this, White doesn't need to play this move. White can play more simple. So like this, Black is able to kill these two white stones in the center, but White gets territory on the fourth line. So if Black continues, let's say White extends, White gets points on the fourth line and Black gets like these two stones cut, but still they can escape in the future, like it's not even territory. Like White can still make some small use of these two stones. For example, if playing in the future a move like this, later it makes it like possible to connect and even like block Black. So like normally this exchange is considered more interesting for White, so Black doesn't play it. And what does Black play in this position? Usually Black plays Tenuki. If White didn't have here these stones, then Black could also consider playing, for example, something like this, and if White comes back so that Black doesn't block White so easily, like after this move White can just continue with some cuts. So after White protects, normally Black could think about playing somewhere further here, but as White already has stones, then this side is in my opinion not so interesting for Black. So because of this, I think it's just fine for Black to ignore the situation and play Tenuki now. Other option for White would be to connect, and there are some popular like Joseki. If we don't look on the other stones, yeah, normally Black can play like this, and then there are some complicated variations. Yeah, it's also possible to play this way. This third option is to play like this for White, and then usually Black makes this exchange and then plays in the corner. So after this move, what can Black do? Like Black can get some kind of walls around. Like for example, after this move, this will be center for Black. And after Black plays here, let's say White plays this way, Black is able to get some moves in center. Later White will need to come back. So this is some possibility for Black, but Black of course doesn't need to play there now. Yeah, other option would be for Black to play from the other side, like possible to play like this, but now there is this gap, it doesn't look so nice. One more option which I saw some time ago was to play like this, and if White cuts, then Black could just sacrifice this stone. Yeah, but usually Black connects and White plays this in like most of matches. Okay, so let's come back to the game. In the game, White played this move, then we get this exchange. Okay, this was exchanged, and now played a move here. So what's going on? Black's group here on the top, at the moment, in my opinion, it's quite safe. Black doesn't need to be really afraid of these stones. It's possible to go into the center, it's possible to make life like in the corner, take even quite many points there. So Black is, in my opinion, quite safe. On the top right, and if looking on White's groups around, this group so far it doesn't have base, it doesn't have ice. This stone same, Black stone same, but it's Black's turn. So if Black plays something here, then Black will have just one potential weak group and White will have two weak groups, because this Black's group here, I think it will be all the time quite safe. So I feel like all the situation is really very nice for black, and I would be very tempted to play something like this to keep white separated. In the game, black played first this exchange, okay, fine, center, so why not playing here now? If white plays, what can white do? If white plays like this, black can just connect. If white plays like this, black can, like here, black can do actually many things. I think if I was black, I would play even maybe like this and then try to cut. It's not so easy for white to fight because white doesn't have any helping stones and black has one here. So yeah, I would recommend to play something like this. Maybe even it's possible for black to play this move, because after this one, this might be some kind of center in the future, but if black plays in this spot, then it's less likely to be center, I think, for white. And if white tries to surround, tries to block black, then I think black should be anyway able to get a good result, because black has here some surrounding stones, black has here still some space to try to escape, so I think it should be still possible for black to survive. But here is the direction of playing, in my opinion. This is a very urgent area. So if black plays there, white has two weak groups. If white plays something there, like for example after this move, if white just comes back and plays a move like this, or maybe even a move like this, so that later if black plays here in the corner, it's easier for white to escape with these two stones. Like this, white is safe. No problem already. White gets territory and white has no problems. And if white doesn't play there, black cuts, then white has no points and white has a lot of problems. So I think this one is like really very urgent area. Okay, in the game, white decided to play from this side. I think all these moves are not so necessary for white. Like I would recommend just to play something here to protect this top left. But okay, this is the game. Now in this position, white came back. I don't really understand this move. Like all the time after white played this tiger's mouth, black can still play some center move, so that white's shape is not so good. All the time there is a possibility to play like this. Or if white plays this way, then black can get even some other kind of like move which can make so that white will not have two eyes in that corner, or black would be able to cut something. Yeah, so all the time it's possible to do some problems. All the time it's possible to like make white feeling not so well. Yeah, so instead of this move, I would be still wondering if already playing there, maybe this one could be a bit more interesting for white, so that it's not possible to cut and white gets a little bit more in that corner. It's not possible to make this white's shape like bad. But all the time I would think about Tenuki. Now black gets even stronger shape here on the top, because black gets extra stones which are closer to this potential fight which can appear here. So now it's, I think, super urgent to play something like this. It's just like one direction, like just playing something on the top left. If black cuts, no problem. All the time possible to play here. Black can just cut this one stone, it's not so much. And black could even cut this in Gote. So white doesn't need to worry about it at all, in my opinion. Yeah, but white played here in the game. Okay, so now black finally played this move. Was waiting when it will happen. Yeah, so now we've got some fight. But suddenly something happened that, I don't know why, but black let white connect. If it's just like this, I think it's a great result for white when white connected underneath. Okay, white doesn't have there many points. White might still have some problems in creation of two eyes there on the top, but white is connected. White has possibility to escape in this direction, possible to play something here. White has still a possibility to play to try to escape in this direction. Maybe even white might have some aims to connect with the other stones. So overall, I think it's a success for white. So what happened? I think the priority for black is to make sure that white is not able to connect. So in this kind of situation, just playing here, so that there is no agi. After this move, what can white do? White cannot really surround black, because white all the time has mistakes, has weaknesses in own shapes. So if white has weaknesses, how to continue playing like this? It's very difficult to do anything for white. So I think white will be all the time struggling with these two groups, or if white protects one, then this other one starts to be, really quite weak. Might be even problems, I think, to survive with both of these groups for white. So here I think the priority overall has just to make sure that opponent, I mean in this case white, cannot connect. Okay, but this was the game. So white played here and black let white connect. Here actually I'm also wondering, maybe still it's possible to cut. And after white plays like this, maybe sacrifice these two stones. Like this. So okay, white gets quite many points. But I think this should die, this left part. Or maybe also some possibility. So just black needs to make sure that black doesn't die also with this other group here on the top, and then maybe it can be considered as also playable for black. But just letting white connect, I think it's a success for white. Actually, here all these exchanges, they look quite strange in my opinion. Like for example, like let's start from the last move here in this corner. So black played this one. It's difficult to attack this white group because white has possibility to escape in this part and also in this part. So white has two ways to escape. I think it's not so easy to really attack white. And also if white gets stones from both sides, then this black's group in the center might be quite weak. So I think this move here, this one, maybe it's a little bit too much. Like black reduced already some points, maybe it's already too much. And if coming a little bit earlier from this situation, I think it's not even necessary for black to play this move. Because would white cut? If you are white, let's say black plays tenuki, black plays somewhere else. Yeah, let's say black plays in the corner. Would white cut? And later get this cookie here. Like white shape gets horrible. It's not so interesting in my opinion for white to cut these two stones, because still white was connected. So like this is like, okay, this group is alive, it already has two eyes, but there might be some moves even center. It might be still a little bit dangerous if black at some point cuts, because later, like with all these cuts, when white is short with liberties, there might be many moves center for black. So black can get suddenly some kind of a wall. So I think it's anyway not interesting for white to play there. So if it's not interesting for white to play there, it's not necessary for black to play there. It's possible to wait. It will be anyway center for many other, like for a very long period in my opinion. It will be all the time center for black, because white will still connect, because it's two groups for white. So here I think it's not necessary, all these exchanges. And actually here, because of this move, I think that is not so necessary. I think white gave black a chance to ignore it. So here if I was white, I think I would just connect and then play elsewhere. Like after this move, I think black doesn't need to play there. It's also like this move, when when white captures the stone, all the time it doesn't give white two eyes. This is the problem, that white doesn't have their two eyes. It's only one eye if white kills this stone. Like let's say this is exchanged and later in the future white plays like this. Like this, it can be even cost, so white would need to play this way. It's just one eye. So all the time there might be some problems with making life with all this group. Okay, so in the actual game, white played here, okay, and here some exchanges, and then white played in the center. If white didn't continue, like white didn't play here immediately, white didn't play this move to try to attack black somehow, I think it's not so necessary to play this exchange, because black would not play here either, right? It's not interesting for black. So if it's not interesting for black to play there, then it's also not so interesting for white to play there. White doesn't get any points with this move. Black gets only a few, but black wouldn't play here now because it's very small. And white taking so much care about this, I think it's because it's possible to use this shape in some other way. Not only to reduce the several points, but I think it's possible to do something a little bit more. For example, it's possible to play from the other side and try, be able to connect this group with the other group. And when there is a stone like this, I think it's more difficult for black to cut, because if black cuts, if black goes this way, then I think there are some weaknesses in this black shape. Like, for example, it's possible to play something like this. If black connects, then white can play this way and cut. I think there are some weaknesses in black shape, so it's possible to get some quite interesting result for white. So I think there were some agi to get. So I think it's not necessary to play this exchange, because like this white loses possibilities. Okay, so then white escaped with this group. Okay, played one move to escape. Black played here something to protect. Okay, so white started to get some endgame. Okay. Yeah, actually, if we are now looking on this shape, like many moves ago, white played this one. And now white got even a little bit stronger shape. And what did white get from this? Where is white's profit from all these moves? Anyway, white played at some point on the top, right? So that white made sure that this group is completely alive. But all the other moves, this is what is here, this one, and later now these two moves, so these three stones marked with triangles, where is the profit from this? Still, black got here this right side. Yes, there are still some agi. White might be able to do some problems with, white might be able to try to survive, maybe, hopefully, in the future if playing some strange moves. Maybe, but it's just survivor, not killing anything, and not really points. So I don't really see a profit for white with these three moves. I think it's just not so interesting direction to play this many moves earlier. Okay, so this is the game. Okay, so black played here, and then there were some cuts. Okay, black came back at some point, and now white played this strange move in the center. Like, what's going on with this move? It's like white attacks black, but not so, let's say, fiercely. I think white cannot really kill black in this very moment. So maybe black doesn't need to even continue playing there. If I was black, I think I would just play something like this. So black gets here points, white doesn't get any. And still, I think it's not possible to get really a nice profit from attacking this black's group, and I think it's not possible to kill it. Where can white get points from attacking this group? Like, everything is more or less set already. So where are points? Again, white can play here in the future, so white might get maybe 10 points when killing these 3 black stones, but still it's possible to reduce for black, like this, like this. It's not big. If I was white, I would think more about playing something from this side, so that now when white kills these 3 stones, white gets also all these surroundings, so white gets much more territory, and still slowly white gets some attack over this big group on the top. Like, it's very slow attack, but it is there, and the more important is that white already gets some profit. But when white plays like this, so far white doesn't get any profit, and black can get. So I think in this position is like a little bit strange for white to play this way. In the game, black played some other exchange. Black played first this move, later one more exchange, and then connected. So it looks like it's also quite interesting idea for black, so that now suddenly this white's move might look a little bit like under some pressure, right? Because black connected everything more or less, so maybe possible to attack. On the other hand, I'm wondering if it's really necessary for black to make this exchange. Because if black plays here, if white tries to cut and black blocks here this group, so that this big white group on the top doesn't have space to escape in this direction, it will only have one way to escape, here. So it might be also quite dangerous for white in this case. So I think it's not so necessary for black to make this exchange, because black is losing points. Like black doesn't get points here in the center, but black loses points when white plays this move here on the side. So I think it's not so necessary to play there, and I think it could be a bit more interesting for black to play simply the same way, but without that exchange. But okay, now white started some very nice combo with this move. Yeah, there are some agi. If black plays here, I think white would be interested in playing some like other moves to make sure that white is connected with everything. So if black plays something like this, then black doesn't get any profit. Black just keeps everything connected, and white got already some extra stones, so it's a little bit easier with moving with all this big group, all this big white group on the top. So black didn't want to let white do this, so black played first here. If white played this, like this, black can kill, so white couldn't connect, and there was some fight here in the center. And now I think this is quite important moment of the match. Like black decided to try to kill white's group, all this big group on the top, and spoiler, black didn't manage. Yeah, so if it was possible for white to survive, then I think playing all these moves, getting a bad shape and not so many liberties, maybe is not so interesting. Instead, I think it would be good to make white's shape not so good. It is to play here. Why white's shape is not so good? Because there is this shape. I will just move a little bit to the empty board. So normally, if there is a bamboo joint and there are two stones from opponents from both sides, this is considered as a bad shape for white, because white played from both sides to try to cut, but it's still not possible to cut it. So white, for example, didn't need to have these stones. For example, if white had just one, okay, black gets a connection. This looks fine. But if white plays from the other side, white loses this possibility of being able to connect somehow. So normally this is considered as a bad shape for white. So in the actual game, it was possible to do it. Like now, after these exchanges, now it was possible to play like this. So now white gets this not so nice shape. White gets this bad shape. Like let's compare it with some like situation which appeared in the game. So in the game, white took this wall and black didn't kill white. So white got already some profit, like I mean a strong group outside. And the other option would be so that white doesn't have a strong group outside. So, and like this, I think black could have some possibilities of attacking these two white's stones in the center. Okay, so how white survived? White just cut black. And now black started to have a quite dangerous situation. I think it was even possible to kill black, all this black's group. In this position, this was the game, but I think if white plays something like this, black would just die with all this group, so I think it would be just game over here. So all this like situation, I think it didn't work that well for black. Was not possible to kill all this big whites group. So here I think this was the like move of the game to play from this side and be able to attack white's group. Here white can play something similar. White can play like this. White can also play here to take away a liberty. But now the situation is very different if black can attack these white stones. It's not so easy for white to keep pressure over black, because black can also keep pressure over white. And in the actual game, after these moves, now it's very difficult for black to put pressure over white, because white is already quite strong. Yes, so this was the game. In the game, like white played a little bit differently. It was like this. Yeah, there was no problem with some capturing race. I think white would kill black, but yeah, white chose simple way. So white got quite many points actually on the left, and it was supposed to be black's territory. White also got some wall here, and even white finished in center. So I think it's a great result for white, and white won the game already here. Yeah, later there was still some endgame, but already not so much happened. Like in the actual game, white won only by 2.5, but white played very safe. Like here, for example, it's possible to play something like this. Like this, white gets more points. And yeah, white just decided to play some small endgame, and I think white counted that that she wins the game. Like here, I think also it was possible to get a little bit more endgame, like some small differences, but some extra points for white than playing from the other side. Yeah, but this is already just endgame, and I didn't see a chance for black to win the game. Also, some small thing like this move. It looks like it's 1 extra point for black, because after this move white will not white might be able to play here, and after this move white is not able to take away this point. But on the other hand, white might have some cost threats, and if black plays here, most likely it's anyway going to be center for black, this move. So it's actually same about points if black connects or black plays like this, but this move gives more cost threats for opponent. So usually it's more interesting to connect, in my opinion. Yeah, and here there was just endgame. Just endgame. Yeah, and white won the game. Okay, thank you very much for your attention, and see you at the next game.